Hello and welcome to the Voice Den. So excited to have you here for this very first episode of the Voice Den. I hope you can all hear me. If you can hear me, I'd love you to just put in the chat there. Yes, everything is going a-okay to start us off. All right. Yes. Awesome. Amazing. So, whoa, we got so many people, so much action. I love it. Ian's there, Mike's there, Neil, Michael, Sula, Ash, Dan. List goes on and on. All right, guys. I hope that you all have a drink. You've got some snacks. You're sitting in a nice comfy chair. What are you drinking? Tell me what you're drinking. I want to see what you're drinking. Type it in there. Let's go. Let's get some action. I saw some people. Oh, tea, water. Oh my goodness. Come on. H2O, lemon, and anybody drinking anything? Come on. Come on. All right. All right. There we go, Pete. Good stuff. Feel free to interact in this chat throughout the entire show, okay? Because this is what it's all about, interaction and bringing us together and having lots of energy and chatting with each other. All right. I have to say, first of all, thanks to Audio Brain, Audrey Arbino, one of our voice influencers, for all of the sonic branding that you are hearing today on this show. She's incredible. You've probably heard me speak about her before, and she's done everything. So big thanks to Audrey Arbino and Audio Brain. Also, I just want to recognize Attention Live and Ian Utili, their company. They are live streaming this episode of the Voice Den through YouTube and Amazon Alexa through their platform Attention Live. Those of you that are here, obviously, inside our den are getting the premium experience. You get the video, and of course, you get the opportunity to interact with the voice influencers. Along those lines, I got to get some little bit of housekeeping stuff out of the way. If you look down in the bottom left side of your screen, you'll see something that says get audio video help. And there is a link that if you type in to your browser, Crowdcast, let me pull this up here. You'll see the link at the top, but if you change the end of the link to setup, you can then get some help with your audio or video, particularly if you are wanting to come on live to talk with one of our voice influencers so that you can make sure that your camera and your microphone are working appropriately. All right. So just so you know that. If you do run into any technical difficulties, the first thing to do is just try refreshing your browser. That usually takes care of a lot of the problems with this platform, if you hopefully won't run into any. Okay, let's get right to this. We need to do some introductions and tell you how this is going to work, because this is all about you and bringing you on to talk with our voice influencers. And so I want to introduce our voice influencers. First off, joining us, ladies first. First off, joining us all the way from Australia, the Jedi Knight of Law, we have Bianca Phillips. And her little known secret, Bianca makes a chocolate cake that would turn even Darth Vader. That's a weakness. I don't know how much of a secret it is now, because now it's on your card. But anyway, that's my weakness, so I can appreciate that. Her expertise is around the mechanics and machinery of lawmaking and digital health. Her knowledge attracts interest from startups and multi-billion-dollar firms all around the world. In addition to research and consulting, she is a lecturer, and she is the host of the Voice of Law podcast and an ambassador to the Open Voice Network. Watch out for her new initiative, the Voice Tech Lab, where people will have the opportunity to test their ideas in her lab and consider how some of their wildest ideas of the future could function under the constraints of the rules of the law today. So that is Bianca. And Bianca, thank you very much for being here. We're going to bring you up in just a moment here. All right. Next, we have Audrey Arbino. And I mentioned her already. She is the audio brain. And she comes from New York. She has super dog hearing, audio brain, super dog hearing. I think they kind of go together. What do you think? It makes sense to me. She is an Emmy Award winning founder and CEO and executive producer of Audio Brain, one of the most prestigious sonic branding firms in the world. She's got over 25 years of experience. She's worked with Microsoft Xbox. She's the 9-time music supervisor for the NBC Olympic broadcast. She's worked with Holland American Lines, Whirlpool, Logitech, IBM, Google, many more. Her sonic imprints are heard hundreds of millions of times a day throughout the entire world. P. Erickson, the Modevator, founder of Modev and Voice Summit. I didn't know this, but Pete's from Japan. Who knew that Pete was from Japan? I had no idea. Pete worked at the very first Costco store. And I have a feeling back then hopefully you didn't have to wear a mask at any time. So that must have been, and you said you worked with, I'm looking at your information here, an IBM-based cash register system. Wow. He's the fifth of 10 children, and he had to choose a profession that put him right in the mix. And that's what he did. He builds communities and events. After starting as a meetup in 2009, Modev is now a globally recognized name in technology with leading events and media properties like Voice, Spinnaker Summit, and he's got top sponsors including Netflix, Google, Amazon, and Adobe. All right. The voice for voice. Dave probably doesn't need much of an introduction. If you've been at any of the voice events, you've probably heard Dave speak. Dave is the chief evangelist for Amazon Alexa, the voice for voice. And I actually think that Dave wants to be Alexa because Dave can tell the weather. He can tell corny jokes, and he sets an unlimited number of timers with the wake word Dave. So if you ever find that you're in a place and you don't have an Alexa device, and Dave is around, just like say Dave and get him to set a timer, and he'll be happy to do it. All right. Good for you, Dave. So he's a professional speaker, trainer, taught full-length courses on many topics, including voice design, natural language understanding, mobile, and cloud. He's helped numerous companies launch technology platforms and devices with both Microsoft and Amazon. And he's the host of the official Alexa podcast, Alexa Dev Chat. And finally, the most mysterious person, I think, of the bunch here, the Navigator, Bret Kinsella. So you may know Bret as the founder and CEO of VoiceBot, but when I asked Bret, I need some information on you, Bret, this is what he provided to me. Bret was born in the Matrix, and he's often mistaken for Agent Smith. That's it. So you take what you want from that. That's Bret. Nice to have you on the show with us, Bret, and we go from there. So what I'd like to do is, you will have to bear with me as I'm navigating our system here to bring people up and on as we need them. I want to bring each person on just very briefly, just say hi, introduce themselves. So here we go. Let's bring Bianca up. And while I'm doing that, we'll bring up a couple other people here just so that you can say hi and meet the Voicefluencers. Takes a moment for them to connect. Bring up a couple at the same time here. All right. And here we go. We've got two people up here. So Bianca, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Audrey, the audio brain, there you are as well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is going to be a real blast today.
Wonderful. We're going to be hearing a lot more from these people as we go along. We've got Dave joining us here as well. Dave, how's it going?
Hello, how are you?
Great. Thank you for being here. This is going to be a lot of fun. And then we've got, we're going to bring on Pete, and we're going to bring on Bret as well. So let's do that. Hello there. Look at that.
It is good to be in the den. I think people first, I need to share some news. I am the president of the Bret Kinsella fan club. No lie. I have an autographed picture of me and Bret to prove it. So there it is.
Amazing. Very good. And then Bret, we're gonna bring you on here as well. And then we've covered our bases here. We've got all the Voicefluencers have a chance to say hi, and then we're gonna move on with our program. Really excited.
I'm gonna shout out to Michael Novak right away, and he called it fake news from Pete. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes.
This has been authenticated.
I've never done a bee like that in my life. I don't even think that's me. I have a lot more hair than that.
Just wait, Pete. Wait until you see what surprise I have in store here. If you're a true fan of Bret, I think you might be interested in what's coming up here. All right. All right.
Hey, listen, I'm just glad to have a fan. That's all we need in life. One fan.
One fan will do the trick, huh?
That's right.
All right. Very good, guys. Okay. So I'm going to bring bring on another special guest here. And as I do that, I'm going to explain to you.
Is it my mother?
Well, maybe. You'll have to see here. All right, here we go. And navigating the system here we go. There's our next guest coming up. So this is, as I'm going to set this up for you now, who I'm inviting on right now is Ian Utili. Ian Utili is the CEO and founder of Attention Live. He's been a great partner in promoting this event, and I appreciate everything that he has done. And we have been talking behind the scenes about a very special surprise. Something that is the first of its kind in the entire voice industry. And I am so excited I'm going to turn this over to you, Ian, to just explain this a little bit. And as you're ready, I'll show a couple of graphics. Okay.
Wonderful. Hello, everybody. At the Voice Den, all the Voicefluencers. I popped some questions down there, so maybe I'll get on the hot seat. So what we're talking about right now are the cards or the posters that were made for this event for the Voicefluencers. So there's these cards made front and back, and something that we do at Attention Live that's unique to media and unique to the voice world. It's more common in the decentralized tech space, or you may call it the blockchain space, is to create NFTs. So every time somebody does a live stream through Attention Live, an NFT is created, like a house has a deed, a car has a pink slip, our content creators get tokens to prove that they own their content. And so in the same way that we do that with our audio content, we're taking these cards and we're actually putting these cards on the chain, on a distributed ledger. And so this will allow each of these cards to have scarcity. There'll be a limited number of the cards. And so Teri's done the card designs. And so we've taken these front and back designs for each of the Voicefluencers, and we've created 29 different versions of each of these cards. One will be for Teri, one will be for us, one will be for the Voicefluencers themselves. And then there'll be 26 available that Teri can choose to release out to the folks that are most engaging. So I strongly encourage all of you, go down to the Ask a Question button next to people and ask a question so that you can get upvoted and get in a hot seat, because we're going to give some preference to getting cards out to those folks that engaged most with us. This is my first attempt at publicly trying to bring together some of my friends in the voice tech world with some of my friends that helped me do these NFT creations in the blockchain space. And I think we'll look back at this moment and be like, oh, that was a really cool first way of bringing these two worlds together. So that was our idea. We kind of worked on it lightly for a week and ran into some roadblocks, and then we're able to break through in the last 24 hours and get these things ready to go. So I was sharing it with Teri, and Teri's like, oh, you got to come on and explain what these are. So everybody's familiar with stamps and coins and sports cards. Okay, well, obviously a coin or a stamp that's unique, that there's only one of, would have a lot more value than one that there are unlimited numbers of. Same with sports cards, right? The cards that have the piece of bat or the piece of the hockey stick or whatnot that's signed by the person, like that's special, it's one of 50 or it's one of one. That's what we're creating with these NFT cards, is we're creating a scarcity that's proven by the distributed ledger, and each of these cards will be a one of one, and I think it'll be a fun thing to enjoy now and to enjoy in the future. And so, you know, that's about it. I think the more I talk about it, the more confusing it is. So I'm gonna stop.
Wonderful, Ian. It's amazing. Like I was like Ian said, when I heard about that and we started talking about this, it was just so creative, such a really innovative idea. So fantastic. And with that, I'm going to keep you there, Ian, because I know you did ask a question, and we're going
I've asked a question of all five.
What you will see now, this is how this is going to work.
I'm a socialist when it comes to asking questions. Just ask everybody.
Here's how it's going to work now. Ian, so down at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see ask a question. And if you look at that, there is where you can ask a question for one of these Voicefluencers. I'd like you, if you can, to direct your question to someone so that we know who you're asking your question to. So if you pull it up, you'll see that people have started to write questions. They're directing them towards one of the Voicefluencers. And then I'm going to invite that person on screen. And as well, we're going to invite a second person on screen. And then you'll notice that there is a timer on the screen now as well. You get 5 minutes. 5 minutes to talk to your Voicefluencer, and you'll know when your time is up. And I'm going to be ruthless. because then we got to give somebody else a turn. So we can see that we've got the first question here. It says for Bianca about Australia. How might you suggest that the team at Attention Live bring our product to the lovely people of Australia? Anything specific we should be aware of? So let's tackle this one. Let's bring on Bianca. So we're going to do that. And I think ladies first, right? We're going to bring on Audrey as well. And so let's do that. And Ian, it's going to be up to you. The floor is yours once we get these two on the screen here to take it away and have a little bit of a chat. And I got to tell you,
I have my 5 minutes. I better be very articulate.
You ready? I'm going to hit the timer when you start. Everybody ready?
Okay, I'm starting. Here we go. So Bianca, my question for you was around Australia. First of all, wonderful to see both of you. It was great to spend time with you yesterday on the Inside Voice podcast. That was so great that you joined Teri and myself and Pete and the rest of the folks there. So Bianca, I've taken tech products international before. I haven't taken a technology company nor a product to Australia regarding voice. And so since you're there, I thought this is a fun question. I didn't want to ask you a question about law because I figured if I don't know the rules, then I broke it on accident. Terrible policy, but the truth. So as far as reaching people in Australia, if we want to bring our skill, our live podcasting skill for creators, hey, that's true, Mike. For creators and both for consumers, those that would create the live podcast and listen to them, is there anything that myself and other startup tech guys or gals should be aware of as we consider reaching out to our friends across the sea?
Thanks so much, Ian. Okay, so great question. Firstly, you're going to have an Aussie to help you because we speak a little bit differently. So, you have to be aware of the lingo, basically. Essentially, we have quite a different legal system in terms of protecting a range of different things. Sorry. So, it's a different environment. It's a different ecosystem in Australia. And also the voice space itself is at a very different place compared to the US. So essentially, we'd have to kind of sit down and talk through the strategy of where you're at exactly in terms of bringing the product to Australia potentially and what the timeline looks like. And then I would be connecting you with some lawyers, some attorneys in Australia to help navigate that environment, and I could definitely help support that process as well. So being the voice that speaks to the lawyers behind the scenes to kind of get that all going, and to introduce you to people who are leading the way in voice. There are some actually. There's one person in particular who's here today doing from Alfred Help. He's leading the way in voice technologies in Australia. So I'd be introducing you to key players in Australia and helping you do that. But yeah, it's a different environment, so we have to talk through a range of different things. You've never thought through Australia as an option before, or
I have with other tech companies, software companies that were like SaaS products that were for small businesses, and so it's a different approach. Yes. This is so new. Everything's so new around voice, and what we're doing is new. So I thought, but I'm very mindful that both Australia and New Zealand and all the Aussies and Kiwis out there, they are on the cutting edge of communications and have great internet access. We speak a common language. We say it differently, and there's a lot of commonalities, and it's an easy thing to bridge if it's done right. And if we do that, I want to make sure we do it right.
Yeah, definitely. So that's really great. What was your experience like in previous occasions engaging with the Australian?
Well, why don't we talk about that separately? Let me ask Audrey a question with my last minute and a half.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or I can answer the same question, whichever.
So the question I had for you was about sonic branding. Yeah. And that was, Attention Live, our company will need a sonic brand. It would be amazing to have your company, Audio Brand, do that. I think live podcasting as a category, as a thing, live podcasting probably needs a sonic brand that can be shared amongst live podcasters, potentially. My question was, before a person or an organization reaches out to have Audio Brain talk about doing a sonic brand for somebody, what type of prep work would we need to do in advance to have a really productive conversation when we kind of dive into having your team help us?
I think that can come at a lot of different levels. Some companies come to us with everything. They have a style guide. They have everything in order. They know who they are. They've done the research, market research, everything else. And other ones don't have really much of anything. If you know who you are in your heart, and you know what you stand for, and you know what your values are, and you know what you want the audience to feel about your brand, that's a great starting point. They come in at all different ranges, but as long as you kind of have a sense of who you are, we could take it from there.
Perfect. Okay, everybody. Thank you, Voicefluencers, for having me. Goodbye.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Ian, Bianca, Audrey. Okay. Great stuff. Fun. All right. Now, what we need to do is I need to, again, manage platform here, and then we're going to bring on somebody else. So let's have a look at these questions now, see what's going on with the questions. Keep in mind that everybody can have a look at the questions under Ask a Question, and you can vote for your favorite questions. So if there's something that you think would be really interesting to address on the forum, then do it, okay? And right now it looks like we have a question here that's got 5 votes, and it's, what are you working on that's going to be the killer app? And that's from Dana. Now we don't have anybody specific to address that one. So let's bring on, I think we should bring on probably Dave. So let's do that. I'm gonna bring on a couple people here. So thank you, Audrey and Bianca. We'll see you again soon. All right. So for this one, let's bring up Dave. And then we're gonna bring up, let's bring up Bret as well for this one. And I need to bring up Dana as well. So, and Dana, here you come on up. We're just waiting for Dana to join us as well. And then we should be good to go. We'll give Dana a couple of seconds here to introduce. Assuming the, there we go. It looks like we've got something happening here. There we are. Why don't you take a couple of seconds and introduce yourself, first of all, give us a little bit of context, and then we can get you to ask your question. Welcome.
All right. Thanks. I'm Dana Gibson. I used to work in a system software company for a lot of years. I'm retired now, so I just kind of goof around more than anything else. But I've got a number of skills up, and I've got a couple of flash briefings, and I do things, try to write skills in different languages, C#, Java, JavaScript, whatever. So I've done quite a bit. Nothing that's going to make any money, nothing that's that great, but fun.
All right. And with that, let's start the timer and go ahead, ask away, ask some questions. You got a couple of really knowledgeable guys with you here.
Well, Dave, what have you seen that looks like the killer app?
Well, my take on the killer app isn't necessarily a skill. It's an experience. So I can tell you right now, the most popular things on Alexa are music, games, and ambient sounds. And that's outside of smart home, right? And so that means the killer app for somebody might be playing like Starfinder, but for somebody else, it's playing, I even do this. I play fireplace sounds while I'm gaming at night through a little Echo Spot, right? And that's killer for me. Like I love having that when I travel too. I think as we move into the future, we've been hearing a lot from customers around invocation names. And so we've done a lot to reduce friction there. Everything from like, I was just on Twitter, somebody was asking about feedback. Like you can literally say, Alexa, I have feedback, or I want to give feedback today. Just eliminating having to have that back and forth and remembering how to say things. You can say like, give me the news and music, or I want to play a game, and it'll bring up a game. And so even right down to blueprints, like you can say, what are my chores if you made a blueprint chore, right? And so I think the real killer app in the future is understanding the context of who I am, and then using things like you may, I don't know if you've heard about the announcement that we had around Alexa Conversations. We also have the ability for Alexa to use providers and pull out and doing things like printing out recipes to printers and stuff like that. So it becomes the killer app is the experience that you actually use with your voice. Today, that's games and ambient sounds and music. In the future, it's going to be like I come home and I say, Alexa, I'm stressed. And what does that mean for me, right? I'm sitting here in the pandemic. That could mean turning the lights off. That could mean finding music maybe I've never listened to before. And for me, it actually means ordering pizza. But that's going to be different for everybody, right? And that's something that's unique that we haven't had in any technology before. You installed apps and that was your experience. Whereas now it's actually having a conversation, understanding the person.
Cool. Anything to add, Bret?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, Dana, great pipes. You should do voiceovers. I'm a little jealous. It's very
the mic
silky
is
smooth. Not just to get, I saw Pete saying you have a good setup there, but I think it's like you got the
Right.
pipes.
It's all in the microphone, really.
Yeah, okay. Well, I need your mic. So, just to sort of jump on this, you want to talk about killer apps. I mean, the thing that really works is media. So any type of entertainment definitely works, and then utilities. So we see it time and again. What are people using these for? So music for sure, other types of passive audio entertainment. And then, and I'll just jump in there, ambient sounds, invoked apps. I listen to ocean sounds a lot of nights going to sleep. And then, timers, alarms, all these other really quick utilities. So it's kind of like there's these things where you do something and it plays for a long time because it's longer entertainment, or you've got these really quick interactions. So it's like a very distributed type of interaction model that we're seeing based on what consumers are saying. Now, Dave may have seen some more live data on what people are using on a day-to-day basis, but I've got it from where consumers are reporting. So those things definitely work, and I recommend you think about that. But I will say that I don't really think that we have any amazing interactive experiences yet. I think there's some really cool things that have been done in gaming, like the Vortex, comes to mind. There's fun games like Song Quiz and those types of things. But it really depends on what you're shooting for. If you really just want high usage, something like that's a little utility, great. Any type of media that's going to be long play, simple invocation, long play. But I do think there's still an opening for something that's really immersive and interactive that really isn't out there yet.
Yeah. Great. Any other questions there, Dana, or any other comments from either?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe something that does a little bit deeper mining than Alexa's capable of doing. Just really come up with an answer when you ask a question,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I will tell you that's an interesting point. So we've done some studies. I think that the answer capabilities for the consumer assistants right now is adequate, but not great. They source a lot of publics. They're really good at like facts, so that's really good. But if you've got anything that's really specific that you want to go deep, like something you really care about, a topic that you care about, you'll actually be able to do a much better job of that because you'll be able to tune the domain model to what matters for that topic, and you'll also be able to really just have a much richer experience than the general purpose assistants will enable.
All right. Love that timer. Okay. Thanks very much, Dana, for coming on. And thanks both of you to Bret and Dave for the question. Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So let's move along here and let's look at our questions, see what's going on with the questions. So we've got Ian again. Oh, Ian's writing lots of questions. Let's see if somebody else can get some. Okay. We've got for Bret, how accelerated do you believe the sound industry will be this year and next due to COVID-19? Okay, so that's a good one. Let's bring on, is that Jenna? Jenna, I'm going to invite you on here. So bear with me for 1 sec while I do that. All right, so let's do that. And I think, Dave, I'm gonna boot you here, and I'm gonna bring on Pete, I think, for this one as well.
Sounds good.
Let's get Pete on here as well for this one. And
hello.
Hi there. How are you?
Hi there.
I'm good. My name's Gina, just so you know.
Oh, sorry, Gina. Sorry,
no one gets it right. It's all good.
My apologies. Let me bring Pete on as well. But while we're doing that, why don't we get you to introduce yourself and give us a little bit of context?
Sure. My name is Gina Isham. I have a podcast called Sound and Marketing. Pete knows who I am. I have interviewed him. I'd love to interview you, Bret, just so you know. But basically, I'm fascinated by what's going on now. Like, obviously it's a terrible thing, COVID-19, but I see something beautiful out of it. I'm a very optimistic, positive person. And we were already you were talking a lot about this year 2020 being the year of voice. And I just wonder, with the limitations of the big video campaigns and all these big budget productions, what does that mean for voice? Do you think that people are going to try more things, adapt to more things? What's going to happen?
Well, for Joe Rogan, it's going to be a big year. I don't know if people saw that news, but $100 million.
Howard Stern of the podcast business.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
It's Sirius XM all over again. So I think this is really interesting. So first of all, you hit on a really subtle point that a lot of this video can't be shot right now. Or if it is, it's not that interesting because it's like 4 heads and screens, like in little boxes. It's not like what they're used to doing. But the talking, so it really comes down to the conversation. Whether it's video right now or it's audio, it comes down to the conversation. And so it seems like there's a bit of a renaissance. I want to say there are around 850,000 podcasts at the beginning of this year. It's like 1.1 million now. They had several 100,000 since COVID came out. Now, a lot of those are... they might not last. It might not be really high quality, but frankly, anytime something new comes out, there's a chance for a breakout, and that's the thousand flowers blooming type of thing. So I will say that most people have said that podcast listening has gone down a little bit as people haven't been commuting because it's such a core part of commuting. But I don't think that's obviously going to last. And it is some of the best content coming out. There's some really cool stuff coming out on YouTube right now for video. People are shooting at home and doing variety shows and things like that. So that's really good. That's like new stuff. But podcasting is new every week, some places every day. And all you need to be able to do is talk. And so, given this fact that people can't get out much, I think it really could be the year that a lot of breakout hits that are not Joe Rogan yet, get started right now or really get their boost right now.
Well, I'm actually more curious about like brands using not just like sonic logos and stuff like that, but just utilizing flash briefings and Alexa skills and like all this technology that I feel like they've just been, I don't know about, but do you think that they're going to like kind of go on board a lot faster and a lot more?
I think they should, but I don't necessarily believe they will. There's a lag effect. Anytime big brands have to do something, very few of them can move quickly. And the thought about starting a podcast, if they didn't already have it in the works, I mean, they have to give some thought about like how it reflects on the brand, how they're going to run it. There's a lot, as as a podcaster, there's a lot of different models out there. And then they have to think about what they want to get out of it. So, I mean, Pete probably has some thoughts on this. He's done a little podcasting too. I just think it's going to be a little bit, I don't think we're going to see an explosion of the brands, although I bet the ones who are already doing it are doubling down right now.
Right.
Pete,
Yeah,
any other
so
thoughts?
I'll just add a few points here. There is going to be a lot of growth with brands and audio. I'm going to drop a couple of hints here. We're going to be making a major announcement at the start of Voice Global from one of the world's largest publishing companies that's launching a new product in this area. So we're very excited about that. That's going to follow an announcement by Google. These are both pretty big announcements that they're getting into. We're also going to open the event with one of the world's top recording artists. I won't say who that is, but he's going to open with a very special tribute to the human voice and the sonic idea. And that's actually going to be layered over Audrey's sonic brand. I share these things not to promote my event, but to highlight what you're talking about. There is a movement here. Brands are moving, things are happening, and I've been kind of close to this discussion lately. I also just want to bring in one quick thing about my glasses. I can't take them off because this is the Bose AR glasses, so it's my audio visual as well. So
I thought you'd just be cool.
You're stuck with these glasses tonight, and it is pretty bright here with my lights, so my eyes are on. But in all seriousness, brands have to embrace now. In fact, the coronavirus and the lockdown, you might have seen some brands have moved very quickly around this.
Yes.
And it's triggered voice assistant adoption by a lot of brands because now it's a must-have. It's not a nice-to-have anymore. So expect to see a lot of movement.
Wonderful. Any other? Well, you got 20 seconds. Any other final comments, questions, or someone just tell a joke? Whatever you want to do. You got 15 seconds. Or we just sit here.
No, I would say
I interview you for my podcast.
very important. This is much more than jingles. This is about identity, but it's also about the human voice and the human experience.
I agree.
Great.
All right. Awesome.
Thanks,
very
Gina.
much for coming on. Appreciate that. Thank you, both of you, as well. All right. Fantastic. Let's have a look at the questions, see where we're at. I hope people are voting for questions so we can see what do you want to hear about. Okay, so we've got one that has risen to the top here. This is for Dave, and it's an Alexa question. This is from Catherine Prescott. All right, from Voice Brew. Fantastic. So Catherine, I will invite you on while we get set here for your question. So let's do that first of all, so we get you up on screen. Okay. There we go. And then I'm going to go back to the question here. Multitasking at its finest right here, trying to do. For Dave, so what we have to bring Dave up. I want to see who else would be good to have on the screen for this. What's the Alexa team biggest priority focus right now? Expanding and promoting Skill Universe, expanding smart home integration, continuing to build out first party new devices, Alexa on the code. What's going on? Okay, so why don't let's keep Pete out there as well. And Bret, we'll see you in a bit.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi and bye.
And Dave, let me bring you back up there.
Hey, Pete.
Welcome, Catherine. And Catherine, why don't I get you to sort of introduce yourself a bit while I bring Dave on screen as well?
Yeah, well, first, this is so awesome. And I can't believe I actually made it into the hot seat. So I'm pretty excited about that. So just to quickly introduce myself, I started Voice Brew a little over a year ago. And fast forward to today, we are now sending 50,000 super engaged Alexa super users a daily Alexa tip for something, great to try. So my question for Dave is, what's coming down the pipeline? What are the focus areas right now? Is it skills? Is it smart home? Is it auto devices? All of the above?
Yeah. So, gosh, this is like the super cool part about my job is I do know what's coming. The sucky part is, that we got rid of Alexa Live due to the COVID pandemic, which I know a lot of you were looking forward to that for announcements. What can I share like that's special for this voice community? I'll share this because this isn't giving anything away. My friend, Paul Cutzinger, which I think a lot of you know, last year moved into the actual dev team. And so there's like somebody in the dev team that gets community and gets everything that's going on. And I was just meeting with Paul literally yesterday, going over announcements and things that'll happen. And like, we're both super jazzed. I would say general themes are two things. The first things is what I addressed in the question before is we have to make this stuff easier for customers. And so you've seen some of that in the ability to do things invocationless, the ability to communicate between skills with connections, and the ability to make AI work for you. So that's a theme that you're going to see continued so that you don't have to really be in this area of generating all these sample utterances, is that you can use recurrent neural networks and actually start to generate this stuff live based on your customers. The other piece of that, other than making customer accessibility, is making developers' lives easier. And so I would say that the focus on is on less code, more impactful. We do continue to hear feedback on discoverability. The nice thing across the board, and I see this online, is engagements are up across the board for everyone right now in this time. So how do we take advantage of that, right? Engagements is tricky because I've always felt that voice is additive in an existing customer base. You shouldn't look at it as a new customer acquisition, but it actually double down on engagement. So if I have a product and I voice enable that product, my customers can now interact with me in ways that they haven't been able to before. So you see an engagement lift versus just trying to have a product that's only voice. And so it's really, I think that's where you'll see our focus on. For those who don't know, Alexa Connections, the whole idea is to allow people to kind of live in ambiguity. So I could say something like, I want the ability to pull up my favorite movies, and it's going to figure out what that even means. It's going to look through an entity action knowledge graph and understand the content I own, understand all the skills. Maybe I want trivia. So maybe you're a skill that does movie trivia, and suddenly you're getting invoked by an AI versus a human being. So that's something to get excited about in the future, is what does that mean when Alexa is actually invoking your skill versus always having to have a human being ask the invocation phrase.
Cool. So what about, something that I've always been excited about is, what multimodal is going to mean for the whole voice and voice first experience. And, one of the biggest things that happened last year and over the holidays was tons of people bought the Echo Show 5 and the Echo Show 8. What are you seeing, at Amazon in terms of what people are doing now that way more people have multimodal devices?
Well, I know, so even in my own household, it's the ability to do games. So we, like Bret mentioned, Song Quiz. If you are a Fire TV owner, you have Alexa built in and you have the ability to play games. And customers are engaging. We announced some of the numbers around that. Customers are engaged with Alexa on Fire TV, and that's completely because of the modality of a visual interface. And in fact, it's kind of in the game dev space, we've always referred to that as the 10-foot experience. And it was always trying to figure out what a controller was when you were sitting 10 feet away. But now you're actually able to just pull that up and engage with that through songs. So I think that's the first modality is big screen. Second modality is cars. I really feel like once this pandemic is gone and we're all back to doing trips and commutes, that's going to be huge for gaming. And I'll shut up now so Pete has a chance with 30 seconds.
I'll get
There you go, Pete.
So this market is much different than the mobile market was. This is not an indie developer market per se. What you're going to see, regardless of what the modality is the ubiquity of voice and voice assistants into our lives, into our work lives, much more. And brands are going to follow that as well. So look for voice to get more ubiquitous across all the things that we're doing, and that's going to grow the developer market considerably.
All right.
I love that timer. That's so much fun. All right. Thanks, Catherine. Great questions. Thanks for the answers.
Thank
Wonderful. Thank you for coming on, Catherine. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Catherine.
All right. Let's have a look here at the questions again. Bret and Teri. Okay, I'm gonna go down to one where I saw. Here's a good one. This one is for Dave and Bianca. So let's and this is from. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. Young. Let's get
everybody.
Yeah. see you, Pete. We'll see you back soon.
I want to see that through the AVAR glasses, Pete. You got me all interested.
All right, let's pull everybody that we need to up on screen for this one. Here we go. And let's get Bianca back up. All right. Anybody who knows a good producer to work with me next time and help me manage these people, that'd be a little bonus. All right.
You're doing great, man. You're doing
thanks.
Fantastic.
All right.
Energy for Dave.
Oh, and we've got who are we missing here? I think we got everybody. All right. Somehow managed to do that as well. All right, great. Well, why don't we welcome. Why don't you take a couple seconds, introduce yourself as well, give us some context, and then we'll get into your question.
Hey guys, my name's Jung. I do a bunch of stuff with voice in Melbourne, Australia. I know Bianca from Project Voice. Built a couple games that sort of finaled in the Alexa ISP Challenge and the Bixby Dev Jam. I guess my question is around privacy and security. So Alexa just went off in the background.
Yeah, you should have warned people to mute devices.
I should have. Yeah.
So do you want me to kick off and ask the question, or?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, ask your question, and I'll start the timer. Yeah.
I guess I was in a meeting with some psychologists last night. We're working on a Alexa skill for a parenting program, and I think the question came out around the privacy question. Now, I have my own answers, and I like to talk about consumer choice and control, but I don't really know I have a great answer when people like psychologists and consumers talk about the privacy question. So I'd like to throw it to Bianca and Dave to maybe give me a better answer than I currently have.
Sure.
Can I ask you, what type of question are they asking you about privacy? What is their concern particularly?
I guess around patient data, and nothing that I'm doing is collecting personal data and all that. We are setting up a university pilot for exploring the feasibility of voice assistants with the parenting program, so to help parents coach their kids around emotional resilience and all that. So that's what we're looking at. And I guess the question spoke about, okay, what, where the data is going and concerns around listening to private data and just around that context. And I'd like to sort of get your views around privacy and personal data and via the Alexa platform.
Okay. Dave, do you want to start?
Yeah, so this is what I would say about privacy. As somebody who has been every technology wave, like going back to client server and desktop and mobile, and like what I tell when I go in and a CEO, like CEOs usually have to talk to their board, right? And basically what I say is dust off the doc that you had that was about privacy on cloud, that was about privacy on mobile, that was about privacy on web, because it's all the same concerns, right? It's about where the data is, who owns the data. The great thing about voice is just HTML. So voice is not owning any data. The only thing that voice is doing is it's turning human conversation into a way that you can actually call programmatic functions. So all of the security and everything can be exactly the way that you've had it set up in your existing infrastructures. What's different about voice, where there's a new concern that I've seen from people, is when is it recording on the actual device? And I always felt like we have a great story at Amazon. I mean, I was talking with Bradley about privacy on a podcast like 4 or 5 years ago. What we've always done, like you said something really great. You said about customer choice, and that's what we've always felt. Like from the very beginning, launch day, you had the ability to not just see the lights, and that's an important thing because when Alexa's recording, when you see a light, right? Even if you can't hear, you had the ability to do tones, so you knew when that was recording. I remember 2014, there were people calling up Amazon and saying, delete everything that Alexa's ever recorded. So we've had that ability since the beginning. What we've needed to do is make that easier for folks to get to. So one of the things we did was we set up the ability for you to just say, Alexa, delete everything that you just heard. Delete everything that you heard today. And I found that just letting people know that they're in control and they can decide what gets recorded. They can delete things at any time, which is like giving a lobotomy to Alexa. I mean, she has to learn the way you speak all over again. But showing them that they're in control. And then data retention is completely based on your existing infrastructure. So wherever you're hosting that data, you need to make sure you're securing it in the manner that you already would have been doing with a mobile app.
Bianca, anything? Heather?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Dave. So, these questions of privacy, questions of data ownership, security, these are the same questions that we've been tackling for a long time. And I think it's people adjusting to these new ways of doing things, new technologies. It takes time. These questions of privacy are going to be asked well into the future. So essentially, if we can empower people to understand and take control of their privacy and take some responsibility as well for their own actions when engaging with these technologies, I think that's really important. And then, as specific questions are asked, then we can consider how complicated those questions are. Some of them will be just a question of giving people more autonomy and more control. Other questions will be more technical, legal questions that will surely be addressed by your legal teams and those kinds of things. But yeah, I think it's mainly about educating and empowering people to make choices.
And the great thing is you also have with voice, I would just leave it with this real quick because we've got like 30 seconds. If you're doing something in tech right now, voice is giving you the best story, right? Because it puts people, at least with Alexa, it puts them in the most control. I mean, the mute button shuts it off at the silicon level. You put your phone, you shut the radio, you put airplane mode on, it could still record. And so there's this wider, I think it's great. There's this wider trying to understand what are these social media sites collecting? What is my phone collecting? With voice, at least it's transparent and the customer's in control. So that puts you in a really good position compared to other tech.
No, that's awesome. Like those elements that you spoke about, I've included. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, everybody, for that. Great question. Great question. Thanks for joining us as well. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Moving right along, I'd like to jump to Zeke's question here. So let me bring up Zeke. Let's do that here. Okay. I'm going to bring you up. And you've got a question about podcasting. And you had actually addressed that to Bret and myself. So what I'm going to do is I want to bring up Audrey as well on this one, because Audrey has been involved with the production of a number of podcasts now as far as the branding, and you're asking about creativity. So let's bring up Bret and Audrey as well. So there's Bret, and we need Audrey as well.
Hey, Zeke.
Okay.
Hey, man. How are you?
Here we are.
Doing well.
Good.
Okay. So Zeke, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us a little bit about you, and then we can get to your question here.
Sure. Yeah. And first of all, I'm going to say I apologize. I was auto-corrected and I added a T and I added an R to my
No problem.
to the names here.
No
and
problem.
Audrey, thankfully, I did not butcher your name. I'm Zeke Hughes. I'm being a little bit quiet. I have a baby right there in the other room.
Nice.
Who is snoozing. Yeah, he's 1 year old. He's beautiful.
Whisper mode.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. So I've been in the voice space-ish for, I guess, close to 3 years now. In the very, very beginning of 2018, I had participated in a big hackathon. Actually, Teri, you and I have talked about this a little bit. And I won a hackathon with a legal product that provided real-time access to your legal rights for high-stress situations. So if you're pulled over by the cops, or if ICE is knocking on your door, or if you're harassed in the workplace, then you had what the ACLU would have told you you should do in that type of a situation, and the iterative discussion points afterwards. We actually built that into Google Assistant. Sorry, Dave. Although there was the plan to put that into Alexa as well, and we started to build onto that, and there she goes. So I've been in it, and I definitely feel it and am passionate about what the future of voice is. I have a new project that I'm working on now, which will probably launch in the next week, which actually has to do with unemployment. And it has some affiliation with podcasting. It's more like video casting right now. And I'm thinking about the potential for flash briefing and potentially putting it into an actual podcast as well, which when you started talking about podcasting a moment ago, it gave me the thought about, monetization and how people are thinking about that. When you don't have the Joe Rogan type brand, how is it that you guys are thinking about that? Sorry, that was a long-winded way to get there.
Go ahead. Who wants to take that one?
Bret will
Do you
take
want-
that first.
Okay. All right. I'll take it first. All right. So I don't have a Joe Rogan like brand, so I feel like I could answer that. No, if you look at like flash briefings, you look at podcasting. First of all, flash briefings you can advertise. That's an accepted thing. Podcasts can also be run on the major consumer platforms. You can advertise in there. And I think what you find is if you look at the CPMs, the cost for advertising on podcasting, it tends to be much higher than other medium or other media in particular, because they tend to be very niche products. And they also tend to have very loyal fan bases who then check out the products. And so there's a lot of history around that. And so what I would do in terms of monetization is, first and foremost, there's a number of ways you can monetize already. I would make sure you build an audience that matters to your content, and one that you think is going to come back time and again. And then based on that audience and knowing who they are, there are people who will come and advertise because they want to get access to that audience, particularly in an engaged, longer form in the longer form content, and with someone who's basically trusted, because the podcast hosts, if you've got people coming back every week, you tend to be trusted. And so that merits that much higher pain or price point than you would have if you were just like a $3 CPM digital banner ad.
Okay.
And on my end, because a lot of these podcasts and flash briefings, we do a lot of the sonic branding for them. We do a lot of the experience design. And I think that's the part can you guys hear me okay? Because
Yes.
I'm hearing like an
Yes.
echo.
Yes.
That's the part I think that's going to draw people to you. And I've always felt that way, that if you can capture the experience, there are tons of podcasts out there. But if you could do like the way Teri opened up this experience, this is related to his sonic branding. It feels like something that's produced by Teri. And you kind of get that feeling, you know what I mean? And so when you have that, and then you have people that are going to come and sponsor, you have a certain section where you have the sound for the sponsor. So it's clear as a bell to somebody, this person's getting special recognition. For example, we do all the music for the New York Giants. And when Hackensack University comes on, they have their own little version of the Giants thing. It's a sound that comes underneath. It makes them feel attached. It makes Hackensack feel really happy, but it also kind of makes this connection. So I think that there's a lot of different ways that you could do it that are very creative, but your role is to make it as much as you can make people feel something in the opening, in the setup, in the interstitials, in the close, in how you connected when you talk at an event and you're walking up to speak about this, that sound connects to what's on your podcast. Like, so you make it this whole big event.
Got it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Teri, you got
Anything
30
else?
seconds.
I got 30 seconds. I agree with
Teri,
you guys.
on the
This is about you guys. No, I agree. I think it's a whole experience. That's what I try to do with my all of my products, if you want to call them that, podcast, flash briefing, etc. It's an experience. I want people to experience something. And I consider everything that I do, I'm running out of time. I got to set my own timer. Look at that. I got distracted. Hold on. I got to time myself. It's all part of the experience. And that's hopefully the impression I'm getting across with this, hopefully the impression I get across with my flash briefings and my podcasts. And it all comes down to, I agree with everything you said. I got to stop.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much, Zeke, for your question. Thanks very much,
Thank
Bret
you.
and Audrey.
Excuse me.
All right. So this actually just brings us to about the close of the hour. Boy, that flew by. I want to thank everybody for coming to the Voice Den, this very first episode. This was an experiment, and I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I hope it was a lot of fun. I hope it was a different type of feel compared to some other events that you've been to. And we certainly are going to do this again. In fact, I can tell you that Voice Den Session 2 is happening June 24th. And what I'd like to do is show you a little video introducing the June 24th Session 2 Voicefluencers. All right, so it gives you a little taste for what's coming up next month. If you want to click on the button right at the bottom, that'll take you right to the Voice Den Session 2, where you can sign up. once again, thank you to everybody for tuning in. This has been so much fun for me. I hope you had just as much fun. I can't wait for session number 2. And I'm going to leave you with thank you to the Voicefluencers. Thank you to everybody that made this possible, but particularly to the Voicefluencers. Thank you, all 5 of you, for coming on and sharing your knowledge, sharing your time with everybody here. I'm going to leave you with these closing credits. And until next time, see you later, guys.